Welcome to Remix EQ Live, where we are amplifying equity through a remix of information, interviews, and inspiration. I'm your host, Dr. Erika Tate, and today I am broadcasting live from Savannah, Georgia, where I live. For those joining us today, please drop a greeting of choice in the comments. Let us know where you are joining from and the equity-driven work you do or aspire to do. And remember, Remix EQ Live is an experience that's meant to be shared. I encourage you to hit the share and invite buttons and bring along your people, your network, your family, your friends, your peeps to join our Remix EQ community today. And just a reminder, we broadcast live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. We can now connect more broadly, growing our reach and building our learning community. While those comments are flowing in and those invitations are flowing out, I want to remind you that Remix EQ Live offers the opportunity for us to connect and build community with each other around the equity-driven work being performed throughout the world. And we do this by centering the work. That is, our guests and viewers share examples of what they do in their role or position as a way to illustrate the innovative and effective ways they advance equity in the places in which they live, work, or play. So throughout the show and in the comments, I invite you to also share what you do to make the world a more just place. We are mid-season of Remix EQ Live, season 5. I just love a rhyming season. Today's episode is a community reflection show titled Personal Experiences and Community Advocacy, where we are exploring how our personal experiences can inform our decisions to advocate for others. This format differs from our other shows, which are interviews. This show is where I show up without guests, but in community with you to hold space for us to reflect together. As social justice warriors, we understand that reflection is necessary for us to do this work effectively, but also to sustain ourselves as we do it. Previous community reflections series have focused on the celebration of our passion and purpose that led us to become social justice warriors, participation among communities that and the different ways that we can combine our superpowers, which are our perspectives and practices that we apply when doing battle against injustice. An invitation, which offers examples of how to invite those who have yet to be heard to speak about their lived experiences and ask questions about the data they encounter in their pursuits for equitable outcomes. And most recently, Amplify, where we turn up the volume on the people and communities who participate in and contribute to our work to make the world a more just place, and also how we ask individuals in our communities to share about their experiences and expectations. During these community reflections, I provide an overview of our topic, and along the way, I share or remix examples from my work, the show, or you when you share in the comments. I also include a few prompts or questions that encourage us to reflect on our approaches and our practices within the communities we serve. You are encouraged to consider these prompts and these examples in depth during your personal journaling time or with your small circle of support, be it personal or professional. All right. Welcome back, Brianna Matchett. Happy Friday. She is excited to learn about community advocacy. Yes. And today, how we get there, I'm excited to share. All right. So, if you've watched the show at any point in our past 3 years, I often refer to the importance of personal experiences, especially as social justice warriors. Personal experiences can be the impetus for us to advocate for ourselves and others, Personal experiences can offer insights to factors that contribute to the hurt, joy, and opportunity in our neighborhoods, schools, and workplaces. And personal experiences can influence how we advocate for others. What injustice do we name? Who do we convene or connect with? Which voices do we amplify? What expectations do we set? What actions do we take? What do we consider a resolution? Of course, for social justice warriors, this is the continuous reflection we engage in as we perform our work. Today's episode isn't about answering these questions or planning your community advocacy. It's about establishing a reflective practice that helps us to identify the power and bounds of our personal experiences and realize our potential to invite others to create change as we work to make the world a more just place. For today's community reflections, think and jot down a recent experience that was personal that made you want to take action, maybe for yourself, for someone close to you, or for people you have yet to meet. This doesn't have to be the impetus or experience that puts you on your social justice warrior pathway. You can describe a recent happening that you experienced or witnessed where you felt, this isn't right. Something needs to change. For example, as an instructional coach, I walk into classrooms often and have multiple times observed 1 to 2 students isolated at a desk by themselves away from the class. These were often students of color who had been deemed a behavior issue. You can also describe a feeling, how certain places or situations made you feel uncomfortable, hurt, or ignored. You can describe an interaction. You ask for information or a change in process, and the response may have been a lack of acknowledgement, defensiveness, or limited information sharing. For example, I frequently interact with a community agency in person and via email. And even though I'm greeted when I show up, engaged in activities, and even learn some information, the interactions always feel like sort of a pushback. And they have a hint of unwelcomeness that in turn makes me feel unsure about whether I should be there, even though in my mind, I know that I should. So, however you choose to describe it, use this personal experience to ground your reflections as we move through the episode. And of course, you're invited to share your experiences with our Remix EQ community if you're comfortable, or you can note it or jot it down in your journal as you personally reflect with us. Hello, Regine. Good morning, everyone, and good morning to you. Welcome. For those who are just joining us, this is a Remix EQ Live where we are amplifying equity through a remix of information, interviews, and inspiration. Thank you for sharing and inviting others to tune in. And of course, I invite you to interact with me and each other. So post comments, ask questions as we continue our community reflections episode, exploring how our personal experience can influence our decisions to advocate for our community. You are part of our Remix EQ Live experience. Now that we've identified personal experiences that may compel us into action, let's consider the data. Now, I'm not talking about reports or dashboards that outline gaps or disparities. These are definitely important when planning community advocacy. Today, I am asking you to consider the personal experience you described as a data point and to determine where it may fit in comparison to others' experiences. For example, you may feel isolated. As far as you know, your experience has not happened to anyone else. This doesn't necessarily mean that you're the only person experiencing it. It may mean that others who have experienced a similar happening, feeling, or interaction are not on your radar, or have yet to be discovered. Your personal experience may be an outlier. You are part of a group, such as a program or a department at work, or you share a space with others, like a neighborhood or school community. The people in your group seem to have similar interactions with each other. They share similar sentiments about the group or space. You feel that people interact with you differently or that you don't fit in terms of having the same experience. It's important that we don't deem these outliers or experiences that are outside the current norm as irrelevant, but as opportunities for further investigation. Now, your personal experience could be on trend. For some, you are glad, whew, you are not the only one. And for the rest, you are sad that others are experiencing the same thing. Now, I don't know your situation because, you wrote that down, but I do know that in our quest to make connections and find common ground, which is the spirit of social justice warriors seeking solidarity, we must be careful not to assume that the shared experiences of inequitable outcomes and oppression are the result of identical lived experiences. Our multiple intersectional identities are nuanced and require further inquiry, even if the pattern presents a uniform experience. And finally, you might be a trendsetter. You could be the canary in the mine or the start of a pattern that has yet to emerge or be discovered. That's why it's important for us to reflect on our personal experiences. What happened? How did you feel? Who did you interact with? With further investigation, a personal experience that seems isolated at first or an outlier to others' experiences can be part of a shared or collective experience that can benefit from community advocacy. Now, I want to invite you to share in the comments your reflections on your personal experience that you wrote down or noted earlier in the episode. What is your hypothesis about which category your personal experience fits in? Isolated, outlier, on trend, trendsetter? And how will you gather evidence to confirm or disprove your hypothesis? All right. Gloria Wesley, past remix EQ live guest. Hey, hey, hey. A good morning to you too, and welcome. I love it. Okay. While I am using terms such as data points, hypothesis, and evidence, today I'm talking less about designing a research study or a set of experiments and more about engaging in dialogue with others to learn about their experiences. This creates the opportunity to test your hypothesis. That is, gather enough information to determine if your personal experience is isolated, an outlier, on trend, or a trendsetter. And if necessary, use these conversations to inform your plan for community advocacy. If you're a designer, this is your alpha phase. If you're a researcher, this is your preliminary stage. And if you're neither, this is simply a set of conversations with others who may or may not have similar experiences as you. And for those who are interested in more formal strategies and methodologies for gathering evidence about individual or community experiences, I invite you to check out our past community reflections episodes. The Ask episode uses an acronym to present several strategies for facilitating community conversations. And the invitation episode discusses interviews, such as interviews as a methodology for inviting those who have yet to be heard to speak about their lived experiences. But in the meantime, let's discuss a few ways we can gather evidence about where the data points that are our personal experiences lie. First, seek out other data points. Talk with people in your situation or space or in similar situations elsewhere. This is where you activate your personal network, your friends of friends, even your social media or online digital spaces. Ask people about their experiences, happenings, feelings, and interactions. And now that you have a set of examples to reflect on, this may change how you categorize your personal experiences. After talking with people, you may no longer feel that your experience is isolated, but part of a pattern. Or you may confirm that your experience is unique and still remains categorized as an outlier. Next, ask questions of your data. Reflecting on your set of examples, ask, what are common themes across examples? What are nuanced differences? What are possible factors that may have led to these examples, whether they are similar or different? And what are possible outcomes if these experiences persist? For additional questions to ask of data, examples, survey responses, observations, you are welcome to check out some more of our past Community Reflections episodes. The inquiry episode offers a set of questions to ask about data that presents disparities or inequitable outcomes. In this episode, we use national literacy data to ground our discussion. The participation episode reviews an analysis of a community engagement data set. And we actually use data from the Remix EQ Live community as a shared learning experience and to also ground our conversation. So, the final step in testing your hypothesis is to request feedback. So, hopefully, you're still talking with people, listening and learning from them. And while you can still add data points or examples to your inquiry, now is the time for feedback. Summarize your examples, share your themes, what links or differentiates your examples, discuss your predictions for how these experiences can play out for individuals or a community. And let your conversation partner or partners respond. They may ask questions for clarification or push your thinking a little bit farther. They may put forth alternative interpretations of what you believe had happened or offer contributing factors you haven't considered. Their feedback may also show you new possibilities for how to respond to these experiences as an individual or with a community. Now, I want to invite you to share in the comments your reflections on your personal experience, the one you wrote down or noted earlier in the episode, or even an experience that has emerged while we have been in reflective discussion. And here are a few questions to consider now and during your personal journaling. Who have you spoken with about your personal experience? Did you only recount your experience or did you ask them to share their experiences with you? Have you gathered additional data points or experiences from others? What did you notice that was common, different, or unique about these experiences? And have you requested feedback from others? How has this feedback shifted your understanding of your personal experiences? And how has it influenced your plans for community advocacy? As we close out today's show, I want to reiterate the power of personal experiences in community advocacy. As social justice warriors, we see and experience the world through a lens of equity and justice. We have developed an acuity, a keenness in what we see, hear, and understand about the world around us. When something happens to us or those we care about, and we begin to feel a certain way, it matters. And it's important for us to pause and reflect on these experiences. Consider the data and hypothesize if this is an isolated experience, an outlier, on trend, or a trendsetter. And then we need to think and talk about it. test our hypotheses by seeking out other data points or examples, asking questions of these examples, and requesting feedback from others. Through this reflective dialogue, we may discover that our experiences are part or the start of a pattern that has been shaped by disparities in resources or information or unjust policies. And it may become the impetus for us to engage in community advocacy to make the world a more just place. So, of course, I invite you to continue to share your reflections in the comments during or after the show. It is a digital space, so we are connected forever. You are also encouraged to consider this reflective practice and prompts more in depth during your personal journaling time or with your small circle of support. Thank you for tuning in to this Remix EQ Live Community Reflections episode, Personal Experiences and Community Advocacy. On March 22nd, we're back for another interview show featuring Dr. Jillian Watley, Chief Executive Officer of Jillian Watley and Associates, LLC, and Dr. Donna Y. Ford, Distinguished Professor at The Ohio State University's College of Education and Human Ecology. Our discussion will focus on implicit bias and its impact on educational institutions as it relates to topics such as overdisciplining Black and Brown children, their overrepresentation in special education, and their underrepresentation in gifted education programs. Our Remix EQ Live interview shows are an opportunity to listen and learn from equity-driven professionals. Remix EQ Live guests share information, experiences, and even testimony that builds our knowledge so we can ask and answer questions, deepen our understanding, and inform and inspire change that makes the world a more just place. So I invite you to tune in every second and fourth Friday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitter. Watch your or X, watch your feed, check your inbox, and visit the Remix EQ Live webpage for episode announcements, recordings, and more information about our inspiring guest. Yes, Gloria, you do have to watch this next episode. It's going to be amazing. We all have connections to education. So please tune in and join into the conversation that I know is going to be rich and informative. In the meantime, I invite you to view my recent TEDx talk entitled Building Community to Make the World a More Just Place. My talk was inspired by the Remix EQ live show and community and has offered me the opportunity to pause and reflect on the learning and inspiration I receive from interviewing guests and interacting with you, our viewers, our social justice warriors. So please watch, react, leave comments, engage in dialogue with each other, and of course, share it with your personal and professional communities. And I also invite you to discover new ways to support the Remix EQ Live community, such as donation or what I am now calling a love offering, which makes it possible for us to plan and promote and produce each episode that you listen and learn from. So if you found information informative or inspiring and it caused you to change something in the way that you think or act, show your appreciation and drop some coins. All right. And then you can also purchase merch, such as the Amplify Notebook, our Empower Notebook. These will be great for journaling during our community reflections episode or just in general as you're reflecting on all the amazing work that you do. You can also get one of our message tees, right? And invite others in the conversation as you walk through the streets. Browse the Blue Knowledge Store. It's a retail therapy for social justice warriors. And while you're on the show's webpage or engaging in a bit of a justice-inspired retail therapy, please poke around the website and learn more about my business, Blue Knowledge, which advances equity in schools and communities through collaborative research, inclusive evaluation, and equity-driven professional and community learning. And you can also follow us on LinkedIn and the Blue Knowledge YouTube channel. Please head out there, hit subscribe, like all the episodes. And then you can also subscribe to our newsletter where you can get content and updates delivered directly to your inbox. And of course, I invite you to connect with me here in these digital streets. Thank you, Remix EQ community, for your engagement, your encouragement, your rally, which is how we recognize, appreciate, learn, love, and take care of you as you work to make the world a more just place. I'm your host, Dr. Erika Tate, and this is Remix EQ Live. I'll see you next time.